sister's old suit. You don't deserve new things, my mother sneered, tossing the stained, oversized fabric at my feet. So, I walked into the biggest corporate interview of my life, wearing a charcoal suit 2 sizes too big, the trousers bunching at my ankles, and the waist held together by rusty safety pins. I felt smaller than a speck of dust as I sat in the gleaming marble lobby of Vanguard Enterprises, enduring the muffled giggles of the secretaries. But when the heavy glass doors of the executive office swung open, my humiliation hit its peak. The CEO, a legendary and intimidating figure in the business world, took one long look at my ridiculous outfit. She didn't mock me. Instead, she stood up, slowly unbuttoned her own flawless, custom-tailored designer blazer, draped it over my shaking shoulders, and looked me dead in the eye. Her voice vibrated with a dangerous, quiet anger as she whispered, "I know exactly who put you in that suit. I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story so I can see how far my story has reached. Hi, my name is Chloe. And to understand why a billionaire CEO was wearing an expression of pure vengeance on my behalf, we have to go back to the house where my own family tried to destroy my future before it even started. Growing up in our house, there were 2 sets of rules. One for my older sister, Amanda, and another for me. Amanda was the golden child, a walking trophy my parents paraded in front of neighbors and relatives. My mother, Eleanor, spent her afternoons scheduling Amanda's salon appointments and buying her designer dresses, while my father quietly handled the credit card bills without a second thought. Amanda was groomed for luxury, taught that the world owed her everything simply because she existed. Then there was me. To my parents, I wasn't a daughter. I was a financial burden they couldn't wait to get rid of. "Why can't you be effortless like your sister?" my mother would sigh, looking at me with deep disappointment whenever I studied late into the night. While Amanda was given a brand new sports car for her 20th birthday, I was working grueling 8-hour night shifts at a local diner just to cover my college tuition and textbooks. My parents never cheered at my graduation. In fact, they didn't even show up. They claimed Amanda had a minor headache that required their full attention at home. I walked across that stage alone, holding a degree in finance that I had bled for, knowing my family would never support my dreams. They expected me to fail, to remain a quiet, obedient shadow in the corner of their perfect life. But I kept grinding in silence, waiting for the one golden opportunity that would finally allow me to break free from their emotional prison. That golden opportunity arrived on a rainy Tuesday morning in the form of a simple email. My heart nearly stopped as I read the words on my cracked phone screen. Out of thousands of applicants nationwide, I had passed the brutal multi-stage screening process for Vanguard Enterprises. I was being invited to the final, face-to-face interview at their elite headquarters in downtown Sacramento. But this wasn't just any standard corporate interview. The email explicitly stated that the final selection would be conducted personally by Victoria Sterling, the reclusive, legendary CEO whose brilliant market strategies had built a multi-billion-dollar empire. An entry-level position under Victoria was a guaranteed ticket to a phenomenal career. It was everything I had ever dreamed of, the ultimate validation of my years of sleepless nights and hard work. But as the initial wave of pure euphoria washed over me, a cold, suffocating dread suddenly settled deep in my stomach. Vanguard Enterprises was famous for its hyper-polished, elite corporate culture, where presentation and image mattered just as much as intellect. I looked inside my cramped closet, and panic seized me. Every single dollar from my grueling night shifts had gone directly toward my final university tuition fee. My bank account was sitting at a staggering zero. I didn't own a single piece of professional business attire. No dresses, no blazers, not even a pair of decent slacks. I possessed nothing but worn-out jeans, faded t-shirts, and the overwhelming fear that my poverty was about to ruin my one shot at greatness. Desperate times called for desperate measures, so that evening, I swallowed my pride and walked into the dining room. My family was gathered around the mahogany table, enjoying a lavish steak dinner that cost more than my monthly groceries. I took a deep breath, cleared my throat, and told them about the final interview at Vanguard Enterprises. I asked my parents for a small, $200 loan just to buy a basic, professional interview suit, promising to pay them back for my very first paycheck. The silence that followed was suffocating. My mother slowly lowered her wineglass, her lips curling into a cold, mocking sneer. Vanguard Enterprises? You? She laughed sharply, the sound cutting through me like a knife. Chloe, don't be ridiculous. A prestigious company like that doesn't hire charity cases. You're just going to embarrass us. Amanda smirked, cutting her steak with theatrical slow motion. My father didn't even look up from his phone, completely indifferent to my humiliation. If you need a suit so badly, my mother continued, standing up and walking over to the hallway closet, you can wear this. She pulled out a dusty, crumpled garment bag and tossed it aggressively at my feet. It's Amanda's old high school graduation suit from 7 years ago. You don't deserve new things anyway. I opened the bag and choked back tears. The charcoal suit was massive, heavily stained, and missing 3 major front buttons. Amanda chuckled softly, whispering, "Have fun looking like a clown, Chloe." They had successfully turned my moment of hope into pure, unadulterated cruelty. The morning of the interview, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, staring at the absolute disaster reflecting back at me. Amanda's old high school suit was a nightmare. The shoulders slumped down past my biceps, the sleeves completely swallowed my hands, and the massive trousers bunched up like accordion folds around my ankles. Since my mother refused to give me a single dollar for alterations, I had to get creative. I spent 2 agonizing hours using rusty safety pins to aggressively pinch the extra fabric at my waist and hold the hemline together from the inside. Every time I took a step, the sharp metal pricked against my skin, a constant, painful reminder of my family's cruelty. The journey to the Vanguard headquarters was a soul-crushing walk of shame. As I stepped into the grand, gleaming marble lobby, the atmosphere instantly shifted. The receptionist's eyes traveled slowly down my ridiculous outfit, her lips twitching as she muffled a giggle behind her hand. 2 elegantly dressed candidates sitting across from me exchanged smirks and began whispering loudly about the charity case, who had clearly lost her way. I sat at the very edge of the leather sofa, keeping completely rigid because I knew that one wrong movement would pop the safety pins and cause the oversized pants to fall straight to the floor. The heavy silence of the lobby amplified the sound of my own racing heartbeat. I felt entirely stripped of my dignity, utterly convinced that my career was over before it even had a chance to begin. When the heavy oak doors finally swung open, my name was called. I stood up carefully, feeling the sharp sting of a safety pin poking into my side as I shuffled into the executive office. Victoria Sterling sat behind a massive glass desk, framed by panoramic windows overlooking the entire city skyline. She didn't look up immediately, her eyes scanning my file with an intimidating intensity. But the moment she lifted her head to greet me, her entire posture went rigid. The polished corporate smile vanished instantly from her face, replaced by an expression of profound, absolute shock. She didn't look at my resume. Her sharp eyes were locked entirely on my ridiculous, oversized charcoal suit. I felt my face burn with a deep, crushing humiliation, expecting her to order security to escort me out of the building. Instead, Victoria stood up slowly from her leather chair. Without taking her eyes off me, she unbuttoned her own flawless, custom-tailored designer blazer, walked across the room, and gently draped it over my shaking shoulders. The expensive fabric felt warm, instantly hiding the stains and the rusty pins holding my outfit together. She looked me dead in the eye, and I could see a dangerous, quiet anger vibrating in her gaze. "Don't be afraid, Chloe," Victoria whispered, her voice incredibly steady yet dripping with an intense, underlying fury. "I am not angry at you. I am angry because I know exactly who put you in that suit." I collapsed into the chair, the sheer weight of her words leaving me completely breathless. Victoria didn't sit back down at her grand desk. Instead, she paced over to the window, staring out at the city as a heavy, charged silence filled the room. When she finally turned back to me, the professional distance was entirely gone. 25 years ago, Chloe, I was exactly where you are standing right now, she began, her voice carrying a haunting echo of old pain. I was a broke, hard-working student with nothing but a dream. And your mother, Eleanor, was my wealthy, deeply bitter college roommate. My jaw dropped in absolute disbelief as Victoria unfolded a history my family had buried deep in the past. She explained how Eleanor, fueled by intense jealousy over Victoria's academic success, had intentionally destroyed Victoria's only professional outfit the night before a life-changing graduation presentation. Eleanor had smugly tossed a hideous, oversized, stained charcoal suit at her feet, telling her she didn't deserve to look successful. I had to wear that exact same humiliating suit, held together by pins, to my very first corporate meeting, Victoria said, touching the fabric of my sleeve with a sad smile. Eleanor thought she had permanently broken my spirit. But that humiliation became the exact fuel that drove me to build this multi-billion-dollar empire. When you walked in today, I didn't just see a candidate. I saw myself, and I realized Eleanor is now using